Hey everyone, this is Rob from SportRx, and I'm here with my good friend Stephane Roch, pro mountain bike racer. Stephane just got back into town from doing the Leadville 100 race.
That's right.
And we've been riding a little bit together. Actually, he rides ahead of me, and I try and see a speck up ahead, but he's really kind about it. And he spots out the rattlesnakes for me. That actually happened.
That was really good. Yeah.
But Stephane came back from Leadville, and Leadville is just such a thing, such a race. It's become such a thing, and I have a bunch of questions I wanted to ask him, and I wanted to learn more, and I wanted to recap. And I figured maybe some other people wanted to listen in as well. So we got the cameras rolling, and I just got a bunch of questions for Stephane, and we're just gonna go from there. So first of all, Stephane, how long have you been riding mountain bikes?
So I've been riding mountain bikes here in San Diego since I can pretty much remember. I started mainly just to ride to school, and I've been racing since the age of 14. So that puts me a little over 15 years
of racing.
mountain
And how long
bikes.
have you been Cat 1 pro?
So I raced Cat 1. I kind of worked up the ranks through USA Cycling, and I got my pro license when I was 26. So I've been racing now for 3 years as a pro.
And what would you say is your, you can brag a little bit here, your top finishes?
Yeah,
what's...
So this year I got a 3rd place finish in the Cal State Endurance Championship, so I was real stoked about that. That was up in Big Bear.
Dude, that's legit.
Thank you. I've finished 5th place in national championships out in Pennsylvania when I was a Cat 1. That was a great finish for me, as well as I got a top 50th place finish at Sea Otters. So
and how many times have you done Leadville?
This was my 2nd time. Second time this year, yeah.
All right, Stephane, so why Leadville? Why is Leadville the pinnacle race in endurance mountain biking in the U.S., or at least the pinnacle one-day endurance race in the U.S.? It's become such a thing. What's your perspective on it?
Well, I think it's a combination of multiple things that make it this really, really tough race where people like to challenge themselves. As far as the technical aspect of the race, there's really not a whole lot of single track, but the biggest thing is the elevation gain that you're going to find in Leadville, and then just the fact that you start at 10,000 feet too.
So you're already at zero oxygen.
You're already at zero oxygen,
feet,
exactly.
I'm puffing and puffing.
Especially for me, I'm a San Diego guy. I'm coming from sea level for this thing, So I got there 8 days ahead of the time before the race, right? Just to make sure I can acclimate a little bit. Honestly, that's not even enough. I should really spend 3 weeks to a month out there, to really get the full benefit of staying at altitude. But that's just one of those things, and you got to be prepared for that. I go up to Laguna, I go up to Big Bear. You got to introduce yourself to altitude. Some guys, they buy altitude tents and things like that just to get ready for this thing. So the other thing that makes it super tough is just the fact that you're climbing 12,500 feet over 104 miles, right? So, like I said, as far as the single track aspect, not a whole lot there. There are some technical sections as far as just fast fire roads that can kind of beat you up just because you're going so high speed. You got kind of chunky rocks and stuff, so you'll be flowing down this fire road, and all of a sudden you'll hit the section where you just got to death grip the bars because it's just just intense, man.
The speed is doing it.
The speed is doing it.
Well, when you're doing it, it's the speed.
Yes.
What do you think it is with Leadville that's become this? I almost feel like from the outside, it's kind of like this larger than life kind of event. Maybe I'm not describing it right, but it's Leadville's a big deal.
It's some pretty.
And I know there's been a couple of major documentaries made, so now there's been more following. But what is the feeling? What's going on there? What is it?
I think the big thing with it is it attracts top level pros, and not just in the mountain bike world. I mean, obviously you got guys like Todd Wells, Albin Licata, World Championship marathon mountain bikers, but you've also got guys like Levi Leifheimer that have done it. Obviously Lance has done it. They made that whole documentary, Race Across the Sky, when Lance did it. You got guys like Floyd Landis that have done it. Dave Zabriskie did it this year. Actually, that was probably one of the coolest things. I lined up right next to Dave Zabriskie this year when I did it. So, it's just awe-inspiring. The other thing is just what a beautiful place. I mean, your views, we're talking huge mountain lakes. You're going through pine trees up into above the tree line. It's just a beautiful, beautiful course. The air is as crisp as can be. I mean, just amazing. So the vibe that you get from the town is great as well too.
Maybe I'll do it next year with you.
You should try, man. I know you're a seasoned Century rider, so we should make that happen.
All right, so I have a feeling that gear and bike and kit is just a really important part of doing such an intense 100-mile mountain bike ride with 12,500 feet of climbing, and it's kind of a unique ride because it's so long, and I've even seen like people like do a combo road drop bars, and like it's very interesting kind of how to pick the gear and the bike for this. So question one is, what bike did you take?
Okay, so I rode a Trek Pro Caliber this year. I'm a big fan of hardtails. I think hardtails for this course is by far the way to go. All the top pros were pretty much riding that. Versus a full suspension, again, on some of the faster descents, they can maybe save you, a little bit of that roughness, but you're probably going to lose a little bit on the road sections actually that are out on the course, as well as some of the just steep, powerful climbs that you need to hammer up. So the other thing that I ran this year, which was kind of a new thing for me, is I ran a Lauf fork. If you're not familiar with those, that's a spring leaf fork. So it only
How do you spell that?
Lauf.
Lauf.
Yes,
fork.
that's the company, the brand that makes the suspension. The nice thing about it is it's almost like riding a rigid. So it's a full carbon fork. It's extremely light, and it just only gives me about 60 millimeters of travel. And so yeah, I decided to run that because there's really, like I said, nothing super technical. It did beat me up on like some of those higher fast speed sections on the fire road, but yeah, I really liked it. Interestingly, Todd Wells actually put aero bars on his mountain bike this year.
I saw a picture of that.
Yeah, totally insane, right? And the thing with it is there's actually 30 miles of road riding over the course, so there's actually a long straightaway section. I kind of got screwed actually on this part because I was by myself. So I had a bad wind, and all of a sudden I got caught by a group. So
there's some road racing tactics.
There's some road racing tactics. This is, again, it's a really varied course. You got to have skills, both as a road rider, the fitness-wise, you got to have some technical abilities, and just be able to ride, long distance and endurance riding.
And tire selection?
Tire selection, I ran my favorite, the Crossmark 29er by Maxxis.
What size?
2.1. 29er wheel, 2.1 width. And actually, Nino Schurter just won the Olympics with that tire, so. Yeah.
Nice.
Right?
And then, so it starts off really early in the morning.
Yes.
I know you're out there when it's dark, and we'll go over some more logistics stuffs later because I got a bunch of questions on that, but do you run lights on your bike or no?
No, you don't run lights on the bike. You're basically starting as the sun's coming up.
Okay, so you don't need lights on the bike.
No, but thank God for Oakley Trail Prism lenses. Baby.
Yeah. How'd those glasses work for you?
They were perfect. The varying light conditions. Like I said, you do get way up high out of the tree line. It's pretty bright up there. And then you kind of go back down into some shady areas, and temperature's changing a lot. But yeah, these lenses were perfect for starting, that early in the morning into a real bright sun. So
nice. We actually have a full video review with Stephane on that Prism Trail that you can check out on YouTube as well. So no lights. We talked about glasses. What about kit? Because doesn't it start like at 30 degrees? Like how cold is it in the morning?
Yeah, it was about 36 degrees at the start line this year.
And the finish line, what do you think?
Finish line, I think this year maybe about 65, 67, somewhere in there.
It's a big jump.
It's a big jump, yeah. We're talking a 30 degree difference.
So are you wearing leg warmers in the morning?
No, so the thing is that you got to keep in mind that at these transition spots or the feed zones, you want to make them as quick as possible. I'm trying to stop for 30 seconds, maybe a minute max to swap out my balls. I don't want to be wasting time getting caught up with some clothing, things like that. So I just wear arm warmers and a thin base layer. I'm not wearing any winter gloves. And the thing is it is just cold.
You're just cold.
You're just cold as heck. My hands are freezing, but after about 30 minutes, you warm up, you thaw out. By 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, it's 55, and you're cranking hard, so you're actually getting warm by that point.
I got a question. If you're not a completer,
yes,
and you're just trying to be a completer,
right?
Can you logistically wear warmer clothes? Can you drop it off at a thing?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. There are, two big feed zones set up out on the course. I would definitely have some family members and friends out there to help you
Yeah,
out.
maybe they have your other gloves, so you don't carry two sets of gloves.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. The reason I didn't wear any real cold weather gear is just because I'm looking to just go faster.
You're trying to win this thing.
Motor this thing. Yeah.
So a guy like me could and I'm a kind of I like to prepare when I'm doing these kinds of big rides. So you could have your wife or your girlfriend or your friend or somebody at one of the feed zones with extra clothes, and you could switch and take your leg warmers off. And
most definitely.
Because I don't want to start at 30 degrees without winter gloves. That's just me.
Yeah. Or toe covers or something.
Yeah.
I can tell you my fingers and toes.
Speaking of the difference between completers and competers, and that term my wife Erin gets credit for that term. Camel packs. I would say you're racing, you're not worried about that.
No.
But just normal dudes that are out there doing, because there are normal dudes doing this ride.
Oh, right? There absolutely are. Absolutely are. I mean, there was, I think close to 3,000 people this year that were doing the Leadville. I finished 87th overall.
Nice.
I'll take that.
Nice.
I would not wear a camelback myself, but absolutely, if you're just in it to finish, I mean, you have 12 hours to do this thing.
Yeah.
I did an 8:04 this year, just to give you an idea. Fastest time was a 6:19 by Todd Wells. But yeah, if you're finishing it, most guys are going to finish around the 10-hour mark. Yeah. Somewhere in there is a pretty solid average time, I would say. Yeah, wear a camelback by all means. Just do it. That's not a problem at all.
All right, that was another question. And then as far as liquids, since we're on the camelback topic, what was in your bottles?
APX, baby. Absolutely, all the way. It's really important for me for a race like this to be counting my calories. And I really like to think clearly. The dextrose in here, the fructose, I think just works really well. Keeps my brain focused. And I was actually doing 2 scoops of this stuff per bottle. Per bottle. Yeah, per bottle. Just because I need the calories. I mean, that's given me about 260 calories a bottle. And at altitude, you're burning sugar fast.
Yeah.
That sugar is just not staying in your blood. I had a couple Nye bars as well. Okay. Those are kind of like nut-based bars. Also for endurance racing, your body's going to burn all kinds of different fuel. Your muscles are.
Yeah.
And so I like to have some protein and some fat mixed in there as well too. So, but not too much. I think the food prep is really, you don't want anything sitting in your stomach. So, not a real heavy breakfast, some oatmeal, a couple bananas, about hour and a half, 2 hours before the race start, because I want it to be out of my stomach. And then the day before is crucial. I mean, I was eating a lot of food the day before. Pasta, yeah, it was real good. So
I'm good at that part. All right, so I got a logistics preparation kind of. We talked about it a little bit, but it starts at 10,000 feet. You're from San Diego.
Yep.
You got to acclimate. You said you went 8 days ahead?
I went 8 days ahead of time, yes.
To start to kind of...
Yes, to start. So I actually, I did a 2-week trip is what I did for this whole race. I went to Big Bear the Thursday... So the race is on Saturday. The Thursday week before, I went up to Big Bear. Took some friends out on a ride
6,000 feet up there about?
8,000.
8,000, okay.
Yeah. So that was, kind of a first step. And I'm used to going up to Big Bear. I go there throughout the year to race. And then after that, I went straight over to Moab. I just wanted to do some riding there. And I did a ride. Moab's at 4,800 feet. So I camped in Moab, and I went up to the La Salle Mountains in a one-day 80-mile ride the Sunday before the race. And that took me up to 10,000 feet during that ride. So a little bit of good acclimation there. Then immediately drove to Leadville and camped there for about 3 days before I got my condo. So I was staying at 10,000 feet for, nice. At least about 7 days before. Yeah.
And how much kind of training you got to do for a 100-mile mountain bike ride? Because I aspire to do something like this. I mean, I have a full-time job. I have 2 little kids. I have a wife, and I love riding. But how do you find the time? I mean, it's difficult to find the time to train for a 100-mile road bike ride, but a 100-mile mountain bike ride, do you ever do 100-mile rides before Leadville?
Oh yeah, absolutely. This year Leadville was kind of my focus race, and I actually ended up doing my first double century on a road bike this year, just to kind of mentally prep for it, right? Last year, for example,
it's a lot of miles.
It's a lot of miles, yeah. Now, keep in mind that I'm trying to do this in as fast as I can, right? So somebody like you, I think you can very easily do a 10-hour time without necessarily having to do that. But a lot of this kind of racing, these endurance races, it's just mentally being on your bike for 8 hours. I mean, your body's going to do what it has to do. It's going to, find the fuel where it needs to. It's just more like people mentally break down. They put limitations in their head that says, I cannot do this, right? There's this much elevation gain. It's 104 miles. I can't do it. But realistically, I think anybody can do it easily within the 12-hour cutoff. Maybe we're talking 5 to 10 hours of riding a week consistently. You mix in some century rides on your road bike. You get up to maybe doing a 70-miler on your mountain bike. Prep for it. Give yourself 6 months, maybe a year if you have the time. Talk to the wife. I think it's totally doable.
Maybe next year you'll be interviewing me.
There we go, right? Have you seen this guy's medals on his wall, by the way? It's impressive, man. This guy.
Let's all road. Mountain is the new chapter. All right, Stephane, so how did it go?
How did it go? So, I mentioned earlier this was my second time doing Leadville. Last year, I totally was super, super stoked on my time. I did a 7:47. Had really no idea what I was getting into. Actually had less acclimation time than I did this year, and totally just crushed it. I didn't really have as much expectation. Maybe that was something that kind of bothered me this year. I felt like I was more prepared. My fitness was better this year. I think I had trained for it. Like I said, I did that double century. Mentally, I was totally ready to go, but kind of just that perfect storm, maybe a little too much fatigue, like that 80-mile ride I did on Moab maybe wasn't the smartest call. The other thing is, we weren't too sure what the weather was going to be like when I was camping with a friend, the week leading up to the race. We ended up doing like these short little 10-mile, 15-mile rides on the course just to check it out. We got caught in a rainstorm one morning in 40-degree weather. We were not prepped at all, and we were just going back into town down this road descent for about 5 miles, just shivering. And that was on Tuesday leading up to the race. I mean, maybe I caught something there that could have affected my health.
You're prepping me for I didn't have a good ride, but it sounds like you still had a pretty good ride.
I mean, all things considered, with how I felt that day, I think I did very well. But my goal was to beat my time from last year, and I was 15 minutes off my time from last year, so it wasn't exactly what I wanted. I went back and looked at all the data. My heart rate just wasn't there. I can usually blast up to 175 and maintain that. This year I was at 155, 160 tops, and I was breathing heavy.
I'm gonna blame it on the shivers, and I'm still proud of you.
Thanks, brother. Dude, I really appreciate it. I got some unfinished business though, man.
Yeah, it's redemption is for real.
Redemption
is for real.
I'm doing another qualifier, for in 2017. I'm not gonna go to Leadville 2017, but I'm going back in 2018, baby, and I'm gonna crush it.
Maybe one day I'll tell you my Haleakala redemption story.
Okay, that sounds great. Let's do it.
All right, so we talked about this being an endurance race a lot, but I kind of want your scale. So for endurance toughness, from everything you've done and everything you know, and you're obviously super expert in mountain biking and mountain biking racing, endurance toughness from 1 to 10.
I am going
10 being the toughest.
10 being the toughest, yeah. I'm going to give this, a really solid 8.
It gets harder?
It gets harder. And the reason I say that is because it is one of those races, like when you get to that point and you're super fatigued and you just don't feel like thinking, you can totally zonk out and just chill and just spin and spin and spin and finish this thing, right? Versus like a 12-hour solo race where you got single track, lap after lap after lap, and you got to mentally stay on it. You cannot let your guard down. Because you got technical sections to clear. So, again, as far as altitude, probably the toughest race, for sure. That's one of the things that makes this race what it is the altitude. But as far as the terrain, I definitely feel like you don't have to focus as much, once you get into the mile 80, hour 7, 8, 9. You can just kind of just say, what, I'm done, and I'm just going to pedal it.
So that brings me to my next scale is like technical toughness, right?
Sure.
So like, a downhill race being a 10 or something, like, or maybe like those crazy Red Bull races is a 12. But and a 1 being just a super flat, easy fire road. As far as technical ability, where do you think that is on this?
I'd give it maybe 6.
Really?
6 technical.
So there are some technical sections.
There are some technical sections. Again, they're all on fire roads. And it's just more like the fire road is going to beat you up. There's only a very few, I mean, I'm talking like a mile or two of sections where you actually need to be picking a line through stuff. The rest of it, you can just kind of just go for it, you know? So, again, I don't want you to think that there is no technical mountain bike aspect to it. There is. But for somebody that's an experienced rider, you know, and good at technical stuff, it's really not a technical ride for a lot of guys. So it really comes down to the fitness more than anything else.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, last question for you, Stephane.
I'm ready.
What's next?
What is next? Well, so like I said, for 2017, I am not going back to Leadville. However, I will be doing a qualifying event. I would just really like to go back in 2018 and crush, you know, hit the goal that I set for myself of doing a 7:30 or less. So, as far as 2017 goes, kind of want to switch up my schedule a little bit. You know, there's a lot of other premier endurance races out there. So I'm going to go do the Tahoe. That's going to be my qualifying event. I really want to go do the High Cascade 100. That's out in Bend, Oregon, which is, you know, I've talked to some friends that have done that one. Way more technical than Leadville. Really? Some serious single track. You know, I had a buddy who is just about as fast as I am, and he did a 10-hour at that thing.
Wow.
So I think the mental fatigue really gets to you at that race, even though the elevation is not as high. You know, there's also other great races in Colorado. Breck Epic, there's an awesome stage race that, you know, I'd want to put on my agenda at some point. Not sure if I'm going to do that one in 2017. Early in the season, I'll probably be doing some Kenda Cup stuff as usual, and maybe make it out to the Whiskey 50 in Arizona too. So, yeah.
Nice.
That's the plan.
Well, Stephane, thank you so much.
Rob,
thanks for the recap.
pleasure, of course.
We're stoked that you did Leadville.
Thank you so much.
Stephane Roch, pro mountain bike racer, SportRx ambassador, and loving all things glasses. And APX is for real. You guys should look it up.
Absolutely. Yeah. Solid.